full spoiler review of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, the beginning of the MCU's Phase 5.
Yes.
And how do we even start this? I would like to start it with a statement. And my opening statement is, everybody's saying this movie just works as a setup movie for future movies. It's the first movie in a new phase. What did you want it to be?
Yeah, that is fair. That is a fair point.
Stop moaning.
Just before we get into spoilers, let's just say general feeling.
Yes.
General. Okay. So did you like this movie?
I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a little chaotic, Jeannine. I thought it was a little a bunch of things randomly going on. I think it wanted to be a movie about kind of revolutionaries and helping
Freedom
refugees
fighters.
that you know, our Kang the Conqueror had conquered.
Yeah.
You know, it wanted to be a movie
Have
about
a
them, but it
freedom
didn't give
fighters kind of
itself.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't give itself enough time to be. It's
Yeah.
not a long movie, especially
No.
considering some of the other lengths of MCU movies. It's a fairly short MCU movie. It's about 2 hours, just under 2 hours and 5 minutes, I think.
Okay.
Pretty snappy
In terms
for
of
an MCU
and in terms
movie.
of kind of what they wanted to do. I feel like I enjoyed this movie as well. I liked the whole Pym Lang Van Dyne clan feeling like a team, feeling like a family.
Yes.
Like I love
Yes,
Cassie calling
definitely.
I love Cassie calling Hank grandpa and like that whole kind of,
Yeah.
they really feel like a nice little family unit, and like the team up elements that were thrown into this movie once they were in the quantum realm. I loved all of that. I love that like there was a focus on ant visuals and ants actually being in the movie and doing something in the movie, because it's an Ant-Man movie. And Ant-Man and the Wasp didn't really seem to have a lot of that.
Oh my god, this is a significantly better and more memorable movie than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes.
Ant-Man and the
And
Wasp is
I think
a
this movie did get,
strange thing.
yes. And I think this movie felt like got really excited about the fact that like we are finally an Ant-Man movie that have stakes outside of our own movie. So let's have fun with that. But ultimately, I think maybe this whole concept was a little bit too big for what the Ant-Man movies typically do.
Well,
And
I
did they
don't
kind
think
of
it was I
did
don't think it was a typical Ant-Man movie though.
did they kind of shoot themselves in the foot in terms of how they ended it and made kind of the events of the film maybe not matter while the journey was fun to get to the end? Did the end kind of result make it feel like everything that we saw didn't really have to
Well,
happen?
the
But
entire
overall,
look,
like I had fun with the movie.
I did have fun with the vast majority of the
Yes.
movie. There's one deeply annoying element that I just found infuriating.
Yeah.
But that's not a serious thing. That's something I can quite easily look over
Yeah.
in you know, in watching this movie again, should I do that soon. But when this movie is this movie isn't really Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. This movie is Kang the movie. This movie is, let's introduce Kang. We saw my sign today. There it is, not on that side. There it is. He Who Remains,
Yes.
who was a variant of Kang, obviously, at the end of Loki season 1. Who comes out with the statement, if you think I'm bad, wait till you see my variants. There's this one guy, he doesn't say this, but there's this one guy who's particularly horrible and we had to get rid of him, and it's Kang. This movie's far more interested in being all about him.
Yeah.
And I think it should be, because I think he's absolutely the highlight. Of course he is. He's on a... I think Jonathan Majors himself is
So
wonderful.
Yes.
As this. I think he's really going to take this entire universe by storm as a villainous performance. and as a villain generally, because he's kind of seemingly more dangerous than Thanos, because Thanos was really just kind of one universe focused, wasn't
And
he?
and he had one kind of
He had one
idea
goal.
of what he yes, one goal.
Thanos didn't know anything about different universes. Kang knows everything about every
Every universe
universe.
and wants to destroy every universe,
Apart from the
essentially.
ones where he's like, I like you, you helped me. I'll save yours. But what about the rest of them, Kang?
Yeah,
You don't need to focus on the rest of them.
yeah.
Don't worry about the rest of them. But I am worried about the rest of them. I don't want you to kill all these trillions of people, but I have to. I have to do it. And this is his mentality. His mentality is a need thing.
Yeah.
It's who he is. It's a natural thing. But I do think him as a villain and Jonathan Majors bringing this very calm kind of quiet intimidation to it all
Yeah.
is really something different from a heavy villain performance. Because you
Yeah.
think about the heavy villains in the MCU in the past, the real, multi-movie arc kind of villains, the Lokis. Loki at the beginning was quite grandstanding.
Yeah.
He was quite, he would stand there, he would shout a lot. I am Loki, kneel before
He was also a
Loki,
little
essentially. It was
silly
all,
and funny
yes.
and, yeah.
Even the Hydra people, they're all a bit caricaturist, aren't they? They're all a bit
Yeah.
cartoonish, they're all a bit loud and shouty. Hail Hydra and all this.
Yeah.
Thanos, Thanos is quieter, but he's obviously a huge hulking brute
Very
figure who
domineering,
just
very
stomps on
intimidating.
people.
Yeah. Mhm.
Kang's just a normal sized person. He's the same size as everybody else. In fact, at the moment, because he's in the quantum realm, he's absolutely tiny. He's like a subatomic size.
Yeah.
He's so small. But he's infinitely powerful. Just makes you wonder how, like, shooting webs at him is going to do anything Spider-Man, it's not really
Yeah, probably not.
the
Um,
Kang Avengers, the Kang dynasty. What are you going to do to him, Shang-Chi, with your martial arts? We like you, you're great, but
yes.
we had these same arguments about some people and Thanos, and they'd all seem to work in the end there, didn't it?
Yes.
So I'm sure it will at the end of this anyway, but it's far more interested in being his story because
Yeah.
it tells us his origin, it tells us his background, it leads us into it there.
And then it leads us into other versions and
It does eventually lead
yes.
us into other
Yes.
versions. We are going to get into spoilers here.
Yes.
But as the Lang Pym Van Dyne family goes, I think it's a really good continuation of their story. I actually think it's kind of two stories in the one movie. They come together nice. It's coherent. It's not messy.
Yeah.
It's a chaotic movie, but it's not a messy movie. It's not
Especially in
all
terms of that
over the place.
family dynamic. Yeah.
No, it's not all over the place in terms of you wondering what's going on. There's just an awful lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's unexpected when you consider what the Ant-Man movies and the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie have been in the past.
They're kind of
Singular.
self-contained kind of things. So now you're bringing them into this bigger picture of building the
Yeah.
MCU. Yeah.
And I think fair play to Ant-Man to get, and the Wasp, fair play to Ant-Man and the Wasp to get their movie, as
Be the
such
one.
a
Yeah, to be
significant
this
movie, because
bridge
it
because
will be a
and
massively
they're kind of
significant movie.
the sillier, kind of fun, non, kind of bigger plot kind of based movies. So to
No,
have these
this is not the deeply serious tone of Wakanda Forever.
no, no, no. So I like that despite kind of their serious role in terms of building this next phase, they still remembered they were an Ant-Man movie and
They
remembered they
did.
had Paul Rudd and had kind of fun, silly comedic beats. that I think mostly worked really well and played really well. So
I would agree. I think for the most part, the comedy really works. I certainly think Paul Rudd and everybody there in the Lang, Pym, Van Dyne family is doing a great job with each other.
yeah,
And on a lighter comedic front, feeling like the family that they've grown to be.
yeah,
I really liked that. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that Peyton Reed has now directed all 3 of them,
yes,
of the Ant-Man movies, and he's been able to instill that through line of them as a group, even with obviously Ant-Man, or obviously Scott being gone for 5 years.
yeah,
And even with all that, he still instilled this dynamic between all 5 of them now.
yeah,
That is there, and I'm sure will be there going forward. I'm not so sure about any sort of Ant-Man 4. I don't know that that's gonna necessarily happen. Certainly not for
yeah.
a long while if it does. But these guys will be back, in soonish in the Avengers
Yeah,
movies and
and
things
I
like
I
that.
will say I was a little bit disappointed because it seemed like at the end they were gonna kind of play it, spoilers, that Hank and or not Hank, Scott and Hope were going to maybe be stuck in the quantum realm.
They did,
And I think
yes.
that would have been an interesting thing in terms of them maybe building a life there for a little while until it could be figured out how to get them out. Um so yeah, I was a little disappointed in that. Another disappointment for me also was that the trailer seemed to play up this aspect of Scott really being tempted at the idea of getting more time back with Cassie, and then that didn't really seem like a plot point that played
Yeah,
into the
that's
story.
a good
That would
point.
have been a really interesting dilemma to see Scott have to kind of deal with and fight with. Um the
Because Kang is kind of consistently, up to the point we meet him in the movie, he's told to us. I mean, Bill Murray comes in for a scene,
yeah,
doesn't he? And kind of weirdly, he's only kind of in one scene. He
yeah,
not billed like fifth, and you thought, oh, he might like show up again, but he doesn't.
yeah, no,
Um, it's very persuasive. Kang, he's very persuasive person, the
yeah,
conqueror. He gets what he wants. Not out of Scott Lang, he doesn't get what he wants ever,
yeah.
and you almost want Scott to sometimes go over and then have to obviously realize that no, I can't do this and turn back as he obviously, but that's done in the
Yes.
space of 30 seconds rather than maybe
And it's
20
more
minutes of the
about
movie
and
that
it
it could
and
have
it's
been.
more about it's because I will hurt your daughter. It's not, the very
Yeah,
generic, I will hurt your daughter if you don't do what I need you to do. But I would have liked it more to be about like what the trailers kind of sold as, this could be, you getting more time back. You've lost so much time. You were in jail, you were blipped, you were stuck in this time vortex,
yeah.
and you lost all this time with her. So I
He
wish
was
we would
actually
have
the only one that wasn't blipped.
right? Yeah. So I would have loved to see him really struggle with the idea of getting more time with Cassie and that kind of be his driving force to
Yeah.
potentially help Kang and that be the deal as opposed to I'll get this but let Cassie go, more
Again,
generic.
I think something like that could be resolved with just giving the movie a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Which it did feel like a snappy movie. It did
Yeah.
feel like a little bit of a quick movie, and I know that's a strange thing to say for a movie that's still over 2 hours, but
But in
I
terms of
felt
MCU films, yeah.
in terms of MCU films, it did feel brisk,
Yeah.
and I I like to sit with some things sometimes,
Yeah.
and I think there was elements to this movie that you could have done. That being one of them, and like I said, this kind of refugee revolutionary type angle they were going for a little bit, with some beings in the quantum realm being conquered by Kang and taking
Yeah.
their home back, is very surface level
Yeah.
kind of played rather than, and it could have gone deeper. He didn't need to, but
Yeah, I
let's
mean, I
have a bit
think
of interest in there and make it do.
yeah, because I mean, I think then at a certain point, it feels like their only reason to be kind of introduced is to have more bodies to kind
Yeah,
of
it
help by
does.
the end.
Back up by in the final fight, which is
Yeah,
essentially what they turn out as.
yeah.
Um, it was quite fun actually in the credits because I didn't realize this. David Dasmalchian played that
Yes,
little
was that the
weebly figure,
goo thing? Yeah.
the goo thing, because he
Yes.
was in Ant-Man, wasn't he? As
Yes.
the
So
that
since
one
we don't
particular
get
credit.
the typical team of his kind of burglar
Yeah,
team, his ex-con team, yeah, they brought him
you,
in for that.
which was nice. I,
Yeah.
I like that, and I didn't realize that. Um, I did want to bring up an annoying element to this movie,
Yes.
and I obviously don't know anything about this particular character.
Me neither. I don't know much about it,
I,
but
I don't know if this is accurate, but I really hope it's not, because I found MODOK in this movie to be kind of grating.
yeah, a little bit. A little
I don't
bit.
know why. I don't think it was anything Corey Stoll was
No, I
doing
mean, I liked that
necessarily.
this was a plausible way to bring back that character, and it made sense to what the movie and the continuities set up. But yeah, he was a little. I think they brought him in to kind of be this comedic foil, and I think the Modoc character is a little bit ridiculous like that, and a bit of kind of a comedic foil in the comics. But I don't know too much to
Okay.
really speak on that. So I
See, I
mean,
didn't. I assumed this must be just assumption. Then this must be what I just assumed, and maybe it's me just being wrong. I just assumed that something called what is it? Mechanism only designed only for killing, or some whatever it is.
yeah,
It's an acronym is MODOK.
yeah,
Um, would just be a kind of evil, kind of gremlin type creature who was in this suit, that flew around and just killed people, rather than being this deeply unsettling, stretched face that looks like it's from early Christopher Eccleston Doctor Who.
well, I mean, yes, that's what it kind of looks like in the comics. It is kind of this big head in with these little dangly
Yeah, but is it
limbs type thing.
stretched though like that? Why
Well, I
can't it
think
be
it's
like normal
well,
proportions?
I think it's Corey Stoll's face, and it is kind of a stretched, weird kind of face like that. So, I mean, if you
Well,
look at
that's not what
pictures of
Corey
MODOK,
Stoll looks like. I don't even think that's what MODOK looks like in
I
the
mean,
comic books. I don't think his face is stretched. It looks in proportion. This looks like they've taken somebody's face, Corey
and just
Stoll's
stretched it
face,
to kind of
and
fill that.
stretched it on Microsoft Word. It looks weird. It looks like when you do that and you take the corner of the little image box
And then
and you
just
just
stretch it.
widen it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little weirdly
That
stretched. Because I think they were trying to fit like these cartoonish proportions of the character of the actual comic book character
yeah,
using kind of
the
Corey
big
Stoll's
eyes and
face
things like
and
that.
that, and it just did look weird and kind of unproportioned and stretched weird. But
But also,
so
why does he have to be so annoying? Why does he have to be so
again, I think it was
annoying?
just to play to a comedic aspect of the film. So
We didn't need that though. We had Paul Rudd,
yeah,
one of the great consistent comedic actors of the last 20 years.
yes,
Paul Rudd, here he is. He's here.
yeah.
Not Corey Stoll. Not stretched face Corey Stoll.
I
Like I said,
liked them
I
finding
don't
a
think
way
it's
to bring
him.
him back,
I don't think I've got an issue
but
with Corey Stoll. I think I've got an issue with
the look of
what
it
they
is
decided to do with this creature or robot or whatever the hell he's supposed
yeah.
to be. Mechanism. I don't think I like Modok. I'm
That's
glad he's
fair.
dead.
That's fair. That is fair. Um,
Sorry, spoiler. We did say
we
spoilers.
did say spoilers.
Stop it, people. Stop.
I didn't hate it, but like I could have also done without it. So okay, I was kind of
But it's just
indifferent to to Modoc.
when you have Kang and what Jonathan Majors is doing there. I like one scene where Modok acts as kind of a lackey to Kang, almost, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's like, there's one scene where Kang says,
Like, "Don't
oh,
talk
MODOK
while I'm in
interrupts
my
something like
presence."
that.
Yeah,
Yes, it's like, do not speak when
when
I
I'm
am
in the
in
room.
the room.
Yeah.
And yet, and I was going to be like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing with MODOK. If they're making him like a weasel kind of creature who's
Then
always there in people's ears going like a gremlin, then I get that. But they don't make him a gremlin.
they
They make
don't
him this
yeah,
kind of loud, I'm gonna get you, Cassie type
yeah.
being, chasing Cassie Lang around for the most part,
And
going,
then he's
I
talking about
once
how he's not
nearly
Darren
killed you
anymore,
when
but
you were
yet
6.
but then he's still referring to things that happened to him when he was Darren, you know?
Exactly. He refuses to be called Darren, but does remember and references things from when he was Darren, and then gets
Yeah,
really petty about people calling him Darren up until he really likes being called Darren because
yeah,
people tell him once, you're Darren, Darren. You're not MODOK. What's this? Who have
yeah,
you
don't be a
become? And he's
dick,
just
just
like,
don't be a dick,
I
you
don't
know?
know who I've become. I'm Darren now. And then he sacrifices himself. And it's just all a bit, I
Much.
don't need it.
Yeah,
It's just all a bit, not that it's all a bit much, but it's all a bit, where's the depth? There's
yeah.
none.
It seems very rushed and convoluted a little bit.
There's
Yeah,
none.
yeah,
It,
that's fair.
and I think the rest of the movie, there is some of it. I like I said, the family stuff with Lang, Pim, Van Dyne. There's depth to it, particularly with Janet.
Yeah.
Obviously, Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, is doing great. I obviously really like Michael Douglas as Hank Pym because he's weird. He's just, I don't want to put my hands in these goo things. And he puts his hands in those goo steering things. And he's just like,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Ugh.
But he loves the ants. He'll do anything
Yes.
for the ants.
Yeah.
And, Scott and Hope and Cassie have a great dynamic as well. And I think I forget her name now. The new girl playing Cassie,
Um,
who
oh, what's her
is
name?
the third person to play Cassie Lang now.
Yes.
And it was unfortunate for the poor person who played Cassie in
Yeah.
Endgame for that one scene, who didn't get to come back for this. But you can't fault, her in this movie for not being that other girl.
Yeah.
It's not her fault she got this job.
Yes.
She's just doing her job, and she does it really quite well. I like Cassie, and Cassie's obviously going to be part of your whole Younger
Kind of
Avengers.
Avengers. Yes. Which is why I thought something would happen with Hope and Scott getting stuck in the quantum
That's
realm. So
a
that would
point,
play into,
yes.
her having to kind of step up while they figured out how to get them back. Catherine
Scott has
Newton.
to write more
Catherine Newton.
books.
Yeah.
Catherine Newton.
Yeah.
Scott has to write more books and do more podcasts and all those such things. I like how they constantly make jokes about him being a sellout as well. Really, he does make it out like he was the main one to take down Thanos as well, doesn't he?
I mean, well, he was the one who came up with the whole time heist kind of
He
thing.
was, but
So
he wasn't
he was
Iron Man. He
instrumental.
wasn't the one who
He w-
snapped back Thanos, was he? No,
he was
that was
instrumental,
Tony.
but he was instrumental in them even having a
He was
plan. So
instrumental. He was definitely instrumental, but so was everybody.
look out for the
To
little
a
guy.
degree. Look out for the little guy.
Mm.
I almost. There was that particularly violent beatdown actually that Kang gives to Scott,
Oh yeah.
which just really kind of brutal. And you really do think, I mean, and it's not going to happen because it's an MCU movie, but you really do think like Scott's in serious trouble here.
He's stepping on his face. They
Yeah.
made a point to pull out one of Jonathan Major's big ass arms so you could see
Oh, they did that. I said, like, Jonathan Majors hasn't got in shape for this movie. It's for Creed 3. But like
yes.
they made a point of showing it in this movie as well. Like
Yes.
maybe he
So
did
I
get
mean
in
I
shape a little
liked
bit for this movie as well.
I liked getting to see Scott have this kind of hand-to-hand type of fight. I liked getting to see him be angry, so when he's a giant man and he's stepping
Yeah.
on things and coming for Kang and shouting, like, because we don't see Paul Rudd get to be really serious, so I liked him being, like,
No, there was
serious
elements. I liked
action
it.
person, like, I loved that. Also loved the like I said, I did like the ant kind of visual, so I loved the different, like, the possibilities, the of, all the different Scots kind of, and then they kind
Yes.
of all got on board when they
Yeah.
realized we have to do this for Cassie, and then they were all in agreement.
Teamwork. Very
Yes,
ant-like.
yes, yes, and just the visuals of it looking like ants kind of building a
It does,
thing
yeah.
together. Yeah, yeah, so I loved that.
One thing I was gonna say about that particularly brutal fight that I enjoyed for its nastiness really, was I was absolutely convinced he was gonna come out with, "I could do this all day."
Yes, so I was watching
And he
Dan Murrell's
didn't. He
review. I was
didn't,
watching
but
Dan
he
Murrell's
should have
review,
done.
and he said he would have loved to see him say that.
He
Um,
should have
but
done.
I feel like because they said, they used that in Doctor Strange with
Did they?
Peggy. With Peggy. Peggy's Captain America said it. So I
Oh,
feel like
that's right.
that's where they used it, and they probably, like, felt like it would have been overkill to use it again. But I
That's right.
agree. Yeah,
But
yes.
Scott loves Steve.
Yes.
So much Scott loves Steve.
Yeah,
Sam Wilson better be using it. If Sam Wilson doesn't start using it, I'm gonna be really annoyed.
I know.
You need
So,
somebody
yes,
needs to
because they
use
used
it.
it with Peggy and Doctor Strange, I think they felt like they couldn't do it again.
Fair,
But
fair point. But
yeah,
the legacy of Steve Rogers must live on in more people, not
yes.
just Sam.
Yeah,
Not just Sam, more
agreed.
and Bucky,
Yeah.
more people. All the people that loved Steve, like Scott,
Yes, like Scott.
like
Yeah.
me. Um, I was convinced he was gonna pull it out because it's such a
So
right scene
perfect,
to do it
right?
as well.
Yeah.
It reminded me there were stances of Paul Rudd just
Just,
really
like,
hobbling, just
kept
with his
getting up.
fists up
Yeah.
going like that.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it, and I would have gone, "Yes, this is good. Yes, we like this."
Yeah.
Um, no, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the movie. It's getting unnecessary dislike, I think.
Yes, like, I don't understand, like, I think it
It's
has a
not a it's not
lower tomato meter score than Thor: Love and Thunder, which I just had a very
I
rough
mean,
time with.
look, I enjoyed that movie. I do actually think that movie Thor: Love and Thunder is a little bit messy in
It
terms of
is.
what it's trying to be and what it wants to be. Like, the tonal imbalance of Thor: Love and Thunder is stark.
Yeah.
Like, do you want Christian Bale's gore as a horror villain and obviously Jane's cancer and her becoming the mighty Thor as serious plot? Do you want that to be a movie, or do you
Or
want
do you
another
wanna
silly
just be
Thor movie?
silly? Yes, or do you just wanna
Because
be
you had a
jokey,
silly Thor
jokey?
movie last time, it worked. Your silly Thor movie in Ragnarok worked really well because everything was a little bit silly.
This
You even had your massive serious moment in Ragnarok. Ragnarok, massive serious moment,
yeah,
but it didn't feel imbalanced. Love and Thunder really did,
all over the place, yeah.
and
Um,
I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed a lot about that movie, but I can see that, and this movie is not messy in that way,
no.
in the slightest.
I
This
think it
movie
has a
is
clear
just
direction, there's clear setup things, and it makes sense. While there was a lot going on, it still all makes sense, it's all very
yeah.
coherent.
It's just that's what this movie is, and I think that's what people maybe aren't liking about it, is that it isn't I mean, we've said this for God knows how many years now. It's not a standalone movie.
No,
You can't come into Ant-Man and the Wasp:
and
Quantumania
think it's going
not
to be its
knowing
own thing like
previous
the other
and
2.
not wanting to see what comes after.
Yes.
You can't. You can't. It
I would
doesn't work
like
in that way.
yes.
It's
So while
Kang the Origin is what it should be
yes, to get
called.
ready for this Kang Dynasty movie. While they did in the mid-credits did kind of say that
Oh,
Kang
yes,
is
let's talk
dead.
about these.
I would like to think that maybe he's not. Maybe he did survive in some way, and he will be back even more
I mean, what
vengeful.
happened to him? He was sucked into some sort of hole.
Yes. So, I would like to think that he's still alive and he's now stewing
Where?
even more. I don't know.
Where
I
could he
don't
possibly
know.
be? He's already in the entire movie takes place in the quantum realm. He's already in the quantum realm, and he seems to get sucked into some sort of quantum realm.
I
I
mean,
don't even know where he ends up going. How does he even end up being
I don't know.
sucked into that
But they
energy
somehow
source?
know that he's dead in the end credits, and so now they're getting the council together to figure out their next move.
Yes, and this is the mid credits, isn't it? This is
Yes.
the other Kang, or the Kang variants.
Yes.
So I was actually quite surprised we didn't see a direct cameo from He Who Remains himself, because
He
I think it would
got
have.
killed.
Oh, he did. Did he?
Yes.
Well, the time
Sylvie
is a
killed him.
Sylvie kill him. I'm
At the end of
misremembering.
Loki, she killed him. Yes.
Well, okay then. Let me give you this one. I forgot that. Time is not linear, is what Kang says. Time isn't the same for me. So why can't they just go like 5 minutes before and just grab him and just say, "There, come on, He Who Remains."
Because they don't want him. He's trying to keep order, and I don't think they want order, right?
They're getting all of them. They're getting all the Kangs
Yes.
together, all the variants.
But I don't think they want
These
the ones that want any kind of
They
order.
want the chaos ones,
They
don't they?
want chaos.
They want the chaos ones.
Yes.
They look pretty chaos ones, to be fair. There's a bunch of just
Well, I saw
mad
people talking
looking
about they
Jonathan
felt like this scene
Majors.
felt very cartoonish. It felt very much like a skit. It felt like Jonathan Majors just in costume.
It did feel like Jonathan Majors in
Yeah.
costume, but that's because it was Jonathan Majors in costume. That's why it felt like that. What's the
And it was
problem
just
with
a
that?
bit of
That's
a
what they
bummer
were
because
going
now
for.
we've had 2 versions of Kang that were really interesting, that were really worth investing in just for them to both be dispatched, and now we're starting over again.
Now, but I'd like to point out at the very end of the end credits, it does say Kang will return.
Return, yes.
Now, there's only one Kang, technically. There's only one Kang. And that's Kang.
Yes, and that one is
Blueface.
that is the one in the costume, in the outfit that is, like, comic accurate and everything, and I don't
Yeah.
think I saw any other Kangs really dressed like that, which is why I
No,
have this
that's
idea of
this
him
Kang from this movie.
potentially, yes, finding a way to come back, and he will be even more vengeful for, not just against Ant-Man, but against all these Kangs who have banished him.
Yeah, and if not, what they're going to do, because time isn't linear, they're just going to go back and before he was dispatched, just take him again, because we do that now. We do
Yes,
that
we
now
can
in
do
the
that.
MCU. That's a
But their
reasonable
fear
thing to
is
do now.
that humans are getting more close to multi-universe
Well, of
type
course they are.
things, so that's kind of their big fear. Um,
Yeah.
and then we get into another variant at the end, in the end credit scene,
I
with a
like this.
clip
I want
from
the
Loki
entirety of Loki season
season
2 to
2.
be this. I want the
Yes.
entirety of Loki season 2 to be in, like, set in 1890, that
Yeah.
this looks like it's set in,
Yeah.
and for it to be traveling showman,
Yes.
and a variant of Kang happens to be a magical traveling showman,
Yes.
and Loki and Owen Wilson are there, and he's saying, "That's him."
Yeah, that's not, and he doesn't look that intimidating or scary. Yeah.
And Loki's like, "Shut up, Owen Wilson."
No,
Yes, he does.
yes.
He's definitely him. We don't
The
want to
worst.
mess with him. He
Yeah.
is the worst. And that's Loki season 2, which is now. Well, we should talk about this actually, shouldn't we? I suppose. I know we're at the end of the show, but let's briefly touch on the fact that the MCU has actually changed some things around,
Oh, yeah.
slate-wise.
Some release things.
So what we've got now is, I think there's only 2 definite TV series this year. One of them being Loki season 2.
Yeah.
For some reason, I forget what the other one is now.
Is it the
Secret
armor?
Invasion. Secret
Okay, Secret
Invasion.
Invasion.
And the Marvels pushed to November.
Yes.
They're stretching it out again. They're taking their time with things again. They're not rushing things. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
This is positivity. They are taking their time with things again, which is only a good thing. You were fearing, with there being so much crammed into such a short amount of time, that it would just be bombardment after bombardment and bang, bang, bang. Here's an MCU thing every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's far too much. This feels good again.
Yes. I like
This
that.
feels good again. And I like that about it. Not a big thing to, talk a lot about, but just say I like that they've done that. But obviously we're getting Loki season 2 coming up pretty soon, of which we're going to get more majors.
Yes. He's
Yay.
on a high right now, so
He's on a ridiculous high. I mean,
I'll take more majors anytime.
he's also a frighteningly handsome gentleman.
Yes. My
Because he's
sister trying to
clearly
tell
about
me he's not
6'8" as
attractive,
well.
and I'm just like,
No, he is. You
he
can't
is
fault
very.
him. He is.
Yes.
He's actually, I would go as far as to say, the most attractive person in this entire movie. Probably is, really, as far as I'm concerned.
Paul Rudd is, his whole kind of ageless man situation.
Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer looks great too.
You can't fault Michelle Pfeiffer, to be fair. I'm not obviously sexually attracted to Jonathan Majors. I'm just saying.
You can appreciate an attractive man.
Well, exactly. This is the point. Yeah, that's the point. Anyway, yes, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Jeannine. A good way of starting Phase 5 of the MCU.
I think so.
In all its
I
Kangness.
don't get people really just having huge problems with it. I enjoy
No,
it. I do feel like, again, there's this weird, you just kind of how it ended. Did it feel like any of the events really mattered? But I still enjoyed the journey to get there.
But you could say that about anything now, couldn't you, really? Because I would say you're only thinking that because the mid-credit scene is all these variants.
Yeah.
It's just like,
already,
oh, well, if there's one, there's like 80,000 more,
Yeah.
Yes. But you could say that with anything. You could have said that with Wakanda Forever. It's like, if there's T'Challa, well, why not get the other T'Challa? I know that's obviously
the thing is,
situation because Chadwick's obviously not with us, but in world, is that not the same idea?
Yeah, but I saw John Drew talking about like one line of dialogue would have made it make more sense. Like the fact that the Kangs want to assemble to kind of go forward with some type of human Earth stopping plan is because humans got so close to destroying one of them. Like if they can destroy one of our strongest Kangs, a Kang that we had to banish, exile, then that could really kind of put us in danger. We really need to stop them. So maybe that be the impetus for them kind of gathering rather than multiversal hopping, because in the end they're kind of mostly mortal kind of humans. What huge kind of how could a Kang not stop them from any kind of multiversal stuff that they could cause? So yes, like I kind of like that I think it would have made more sense to make it like, if Ant-Man can destroy one of our strongest Kangs, and on top of all the multiversal meddling that they could do, I think we need to now intervene. I feel like that would have made more sense, as opposed to, I think they're meddling in the multiverse, we need to stop them.
But maybe, I guess so. But I think you have to trust where they're going with the Kang story. And Kang, the character, in his ridiculous power, has obviously been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And, they've found reasonable ways of making him ridiculously powerful, but also obviously defeatable because he's a villain, and that's going to be what happens.
Yeah.
So you just got to have faith that they're going to bring that into
all
obviously the
together.
movies,
Yes. So, I
and I
mean,
think they will.
I enjoyed the movie. I liked I think the core family dynamic and them kind of teaming up saved this movie for me in a lot of ways and made me really just invested in where this journey was going to take them. I liked
Yeah,
having this quantum realm location and kind of having these weird things to look at and see. I agree with you with the kind of refugee freedom fighters plot line not getting enough time to really kind of invest us in that, and really just felt like, okay, we just need these disposable characters to make this, to help us kind of defeat Kang in the end. Um
I do like how William Jackson Harper was in there as that telepath
yes, yeah.
because I
That
like him.
he's great, yes. So,
That
yeah, I mean,
worked well for me. He's
if they
still
were gonna
alive
work
as
that
well, so
in,
bring him back.
yeah, right? So if they were gonna work that in there, give that, give that a little bit more time, especially if you are an MCU film running on the shorter end time-wise, you could have given
Yeah,
that more time. So, yeah, but overall, I enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I love these characters, so getting to see them kind of all work together to defeat this bigger thing, and this movie having a little bit more stakes than a normal Ant-Man movie, but still remembering it's an Ant-Man movie and having the comedy and the ant elements because, yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp
yeah.
literally had no kind of ant things.
Oh,
So,
it's a
yeah.
bland, forgettable movie, and it's a shame.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I had fun overall with this movie, definitely. There were some things they could have improved on and could have done better. Um, but overall, I enjoyed it. So
Yeah. Lastly